When I was younger, I viewed the Guillermo del Toro Hellboy films and I absolutely loved them. I still do, very much. Those films got me obsessed with the comic books, and I read absolutely everything in the Mike Mignola BPRD verse. It still remains probably my favourite comic book universe of all time. Some of the things Alan Moore created are beyond impressive, although I can't help but feel often that the Hellboy mythos that Mignola created is my favourite thing in Western comic books. I guess I was a little disheartened that Del Toro and Ron Perlman never got to finish their trilogy, although I was open-minded to viewing the eventual 2019 reboot starring David Harbour as Hellboy and directed by Neil Marshall. I'm quite fond of Neil Marshall's Dog Soldiers. Anyone who knows me knows that I like a good werewolf film, and Dog Soldiers makes for superb viewing. His other films, namely The Descent, Doomsday, and The Centurion, had elements I found interesting, and even admirable, although neither three had a huge impact on me. I do intend to revisit Neil Marshall's work eventually. There was one factor which made me especially open-minded to this Hellboy reboot. It was going to be based off of the later storyline of the comics, and possibly my favourite section of the Hellboy run. I was utterly giddy at the prospect of witnessing the wild hunt, with the Grugarch and the Queen of Blood, and the Arthurian legends, and the storm and the fury over the British Isles. And wow, the fan acknowledgement here is tremendous. This truly was a labour of love. This film featured all of that, plus Lobster Johnson, Ben Daimio, including the Were-Jaguar, the Baba Yaga, and lots of bloody violence. I was so happy viewing this film, and I really, really like it. Apparently it received something of a critical thrashing, which I don't quite understand. It was a commercial failure, that I do understand. I can't imagine why general audiences would have wanted to see this film, or even if they would enjoy it, that I'm skeptical of as well. I mean, let me address this film critically. Compared to the Marvel Comics adaptations, this Hellboy film is superlative. Well, look. My stance on the Marvel Comics films, the MCU and or otherwise, has been this. I enjoyed the Marvel Comics universe when I was younger, as well, quite a lot. So I at one time held quite a curiosity for how the film adaptations would unfold, but now I just don't care. Honestly, the only two of them that I still can view and feel satisfied are 2012's The Avengers, of course, and 2014's X-Men Days of Future Past. I'm a huge X-Men's my favorite Marvel Comics IP, so nailing an X-Men storyline as they did in the 2014 film, that was just amazing in my opinion. I dig those two, but I'd have to check how to see if there are any others, but frankly, probably not. But what about... No, I probably find it uninteresting and tacky. Obviously, all those 2000s Marvel films were pretty bad, really. Some in the 2010s have been cool, but very little. Mostly I find them to be unengaging video game cutscene-y spectacles. In that latter respect, especially from 2016 Civil War, say, onward, those films are just bonanzas of unimaginative, multicoloured CGI and handsome, charismatic actors who audiences like to see do action things and make forced banter with one another. It's not cinema. And let's face it, Martin, a lot of the films you put out in this century have been pretty disgraceful. The Irishman is as much a blatant attempt at one of these nostalgia IPs as any regurgitated franchise unleashed upon cinemagoers during the bloated, saturated hysteria that was the 2010s. A big thanks to COVID-19 for bringing that decade to an end. So anyhow, I enjoyed Hellboy far, far more than most superhero comic adaptations. Obviously, I still much prefer the Del Toro Perlman duology, although I very much get a kick out of Neil Marshall's film as well. Those Del Toro Hellboy films may be my favourite superhero comic adaptations on film. I find them magical. Nevertheless, 2019's Hellboy feels like it was tailor-made for someone like myself, who read the comic book extensively, loved the entire mythos, and enjoy extravagant cinematic guts and gore. Good stuff. So allow this to be my endorsement of 2019's Hellboy. If you're interested, do check it out.